Welcome, my friends of Japanese prints, for another edition of the video productions by Artelino, artelino.com. I'm Dieter Vanschura. I'm the manager and owner of the Artelino company, and my little company sells Japanese prints in weekly online auctions. And the subject of today's video is a Susaku Hanga artist. His name is Fumio Kitaoka. He was born in 1918 and died in 2007. Fumio Kitaoka, you must know, was a very versatile artist. He had a wide span of different styles and different techniques, but he used mostly woodcuts. Woodcuts or woodblock printmaking, that's the same. But he also used the Western technique, printmaking technique of etching, and he also used wood engraving. Wood engraving is slightly different from woodcuts. But I don't want to go into any details now of this difference. Let's talk a little bit about the biography of Fumio Kitaoka. I already mentioned, born in Tokyo, and he graduated from the Tokyo School of Fine Arts. There he learned oil painting in Western style. And one of his teachers was Onichi Hiratsuka. And from Onichi, he learned how to make a woodblock print in the traditional Japanese style. Well, after he graduated from the Tokyo School of Arts, he went to Paris later and studied from 1955 until 1956, 1 year in Paris. And now let's make a jump 10 years later. 10 years later, he was in the US, but there no longer as a student, but as a teacher. Fumio Kitaoka taught at the Minneapolis Museum School of Arts from 1964 until 1965, and afterwards he went to New York and taught art and especially printmaking at the Pratt Graphics Art Center in New York. Fumio Kitaoka had become famous with these international print biennales, these international print exhibitions. They took place every 2 years somewhere in the world, in Sao Paulo, in Brazil, Krakow in Poland, Frechen in Germany, and I think twice in Tokyo, in Japan, of course. And that made him very, very famous. Today, his art prints are in all major renowned museums. For instance, Museum of Modern Art in New York, or Museum of Fine Arts in Boston, or the Art Institute of Chicago. Everybody knows these museums. They are among the most finest museums in the world. Yeah. Next, let's come to this print here in my background. There's something a little bit special about it. First of all, I like it very much personally. This is a beautiful print, but I also have some personal memories about such a kind of a house. But let me first explain a little bit. The title of this print is Old Houses in Georgetown. Georgetown is a cultural old neighborhood in the larger area of Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C., capital of the U.S. for non-Americans. And you find such houses not only in Georgetown, such old houses in the row, but also in other areas in the larger Washington, D.C. area, like Arlington or Alexandria. And I was so lucky around 1995 to spend 2 weeks in such a wonderful old house in Arlington when I attended a language class in Alexandria, when I attended a language class in Alexandria along the Potomac River. And I have lovely memories. Yeah, this house had a very small backyard, garden, and inside old but very romantic, beautiful and nice people. And I remember my host told me that such houses are very, very expensive because there are not many left. I mention this also for another reason, because the teacher of Fumio Kitaoka, Unichi Hiratsuka, he had moved to the Washington, D.C. area, and he lived there for quite a few years, maybe even a few decades, I'm not quite sure. His daughter had married an American, and then he went with his daughter to the US and lived in the house of his daughter and of his son-in-law. And that was also in the Washington, D.C. area. And I'm quite convinced, because Fumio Kitaoka and Unichi Hiratsuka, they were close friends. I'm quite convinced that these two men met very often while Fumio Kitaoka was in the US, and maybe Unichi lived in such a house. I don't know. Well, we've come practically nearly to the end. Let's try a kind of wrap up the essentials. What's essential about Fumio Kitaoka? Well, remember 4 things. He was a Sosaku hanger artist, international fame, active as a teacher in the US, and a wide variety of styles and techniques. Well, if you're interested in Japanese prints, remember, visit artelino.com, because only Artelino, please correct me if I'm wrong, only Artelino offers more than 1,200 articles about Japanese prints, more than 150 videos about Japanese prints in English, a database of more than 4,000 Japanese printmakers, and an archive of more than 70,000 sold Japanese prints since 2001, when I established this little company. My name is Dieter Manschura. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.